friends. Welcome back to the Hot Nerd Network. I'm your host, Hot Nerd D, and I'm excited to talk to you all about the latest episode of Power Book 4 Force, episode 5. Today, we have a fave return to talk about this episode with. So, everyone say hi to the amazing Hot Nerd Jazz.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Power Universe.
Period. Yes, so let's jump right into it. But first, before that, remember as always to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, so for the episode recap, in this week's episode, it opens up with Jenard's crew, sharing that he's completely out of resources and means. They let him know it's over. It's really over at this point. We have nothing left. um and then it leads into an old crew that used to beef with CBI coming to retaliate on Diamond to take him out, but instead they hit some bystanders. So we'll see, if we see any repercussions of that coming up later on in this season. Claudia and Victor further their plan this episode to kill their father. She is like in the midst of going over the plan, reminded that if Victor is still alive, though, that she won't necessarily be ruling the Flynn organization. So when Dublin came to act, they missed, they kill Polly. So Victor ends up finishing the job and killing his father himself. So, once again, that is a common theme we see throughout the Power universe. Either parents taking out their kids or kids taking out their parents.
Mhm.
Victor is now suspicious that Claudia could have set him up for control, which we do find out later in the episode that that is confirmed. She definitely did set him up, so that way she could, find her way empower the Flynn organization. So we'll see if that how that plan ends up for her. Tommy creates a plan to make DMAC disappear, which means he is really relocating him to protect him because, of course, as you saw from last episode, DMAC ends up killing a cop impulsively. Diamond and Tommy form a coalition with a rival gang to expand their empire. Diamond has a hard heart. We see kind of like a first kind of glance into Diamond and Jenard's like background from their parents. We find that both their dad is dying, and so they have like a heart to heart, and his father kind of put some bugs in his ear to get back with Jenard and to make it right with his brother. So we do see at the end of the episode that Diamond accepts Jenard back into CBI. So we'll see how that ends up. And we the episode finally ends off with Vic cooperating with the police to not only take down his sister for the betrayal, for setting him up, but also to infiltrate CBI to take down Tommy. So that was a lot that we uncovered for this episode. So I definitely want to start with what was your favorite part or what stood out to you the most?
Oh, my favorite part. My favorite part was Diamond and his dad, just because that was one. It started off terribly. Like that was wild. Like you would never think, okay, someone's on hospice and they're about to pass away. Like the words that Diamond's dad had to say at first was literally just like, "Fuck you, get out. I don't want you around." And Diamond was pretty much coming back, like like you were never around. It just felt very justified on Diamond's side. Dad's side, you didn't really understand until the second time he came back. You started to understand a little bit more. So I like that. I like that it didn't end with them just being on like complete opposite sides, like a very like, you know, negative way to go out this world. But they came back and talked about it. So
Yes, I was scared that it was going to end that way with them just completely being like, "I'm glad you died," and that's the end with you. And it's just interesting that you bring that point up because looking at Diamond's like disposition throughout the show, he's the calm, cool, and collected brother, but you would think, seeing now like his background with his dad that would like invigorate him to be a little bit more angry or in a way to like act similar to how we're seeing Jenard act. So I find that interesting that he has such a calm disposition about himself but yet can't like has a major figure in his life, such as his father, not necessarily supporting that. So it like makes me think like, like where did he learn that from? Like where did he learn how to like kind of keep his composure and kind of keep it all together? Because in a way, I would expect like based on like what we heard from his dad for him to be acting more similar to how Jenard actually is acting right now. So that was definitely a powerful scene. One of the scene that got me was Paulie. I did not want to see him die. That was a little, I was like, dang, he's been loyal, since the beginning. And, really just tried to play his part the best way that he could. He meant it where he's like, I'll give my life for this organization.
Hmm.
So he that was definitely fulfilled in this episode, but in a way I am glad that also for them like it didn't end in such like a tumultuous situation, because we did see like towards the end of the last episode um how Walter was just, it was either last episode or one before that, how Walter was just kind of like just going in on him like, I don't even really, didn't really want your presence here. This was kind of just like a deal that I made from Pat. And so it was nice to see them in a way like reconcile that. But then, at the same time, I didn't want to also see him leave. But what did you think about the scene of Victor taking out his father? Like what came
Woo!
when you saw that?
Well, to your point, this is a recurring thing. Okay, we have Kanan, we have
Mhm.
clearly Tariq and Ghost, we have Tommy, and then we
Yes.
have Vic. Am I missing anybody? Who else killed their dad or
Uh,
got killed by their dad?
well, no, so no, yeah, so yeah, Tommy killed his dad. Yes, Tariq killed his dad. Uh, and no, well, Kanan killed his son, though.
I know. So it's like it goes one way or the other. It's either I'm killing my dad's killing me. It
Mhm.
goes.
So, what did you think about the scene of Victor taking out his father?
That was a good scene for a lot of reasons. I mean, I could see because killing his dad, but kind of good scene just because it's like, wow, this is a theme throughout Power. It's always some parent dynamics. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the writers got some issues with their parents because it keeps coming back. Like,
Mm.
Kanan, well, Kanan killed his son and his dad. Is that true? And then Ghost and Tariq.
Yeah, Kanan, he attempted to kill his dad. His dad is still alive though, in his show, but he definitely did attempt. The Tejadas definitely
Mm-hmm.
attempted,
Monet.
and yeah, for Monet and Tariq's show, or in Power Book 2. I know
Tommy, and
everybody calls him like Tariq show, Tommy show, but
I know. You know who it is. It's really like grape Kool-Aid, like or like red Kool-Aid or something. You can call it what you want. But
yep,
Tommy and his dad.
Tommy, yeah, took out his dad too. So yes, that is definitely a reoccurring theme of some sort where a parent is either going to take out their child or a child is definitely going to take out their parent. It's almost like it like symbolizes like, just like a boiling point. Like it almost always has to come to this matter. Like I have no other choice but now just to take you out, now to just like completely eliminate you from the, from the situation overall. So it just makes me think like, what could happen with a little mediation, like what could happen if they really did kind of just sit down before it escalated to the point of literally no return. Like we can't,
Hmm.
bring these people back like once they're gone. And so I think, like when it gets to that point, a lot of times those acts are more impulsive, like they're planned, and in theory it's like very organized, but like you can see like time and time again in those scenes, um, how like the act of it or like when it actually happens is very impulsive. It's like very in the moment, like, oh wow, like it's almost like do or die. Like I have to do it in this moment, or everything else is gonna, fall to the wayside. But I wonder like what it could look like if there was that pause, like right before this, very like huge act, this callus that can really always changes the trajectory of where things are going. Because like for Victor, for instance, in this episode, it's like, now your father's gone. Now you're at odds with your sister, and now you're going to cooperate with the police. Like, you are not putting yourself in a good position, to really, thrive or really actually make it out. And so maybe that is in a way like what Victor is trying to tell us. Like he was saying, like, I'm completely done, like, with all of this. Like, I just want a restart, or I just want a redo. But with something as drastic as killing your father, it's not going to be so easy. Like, you're not going to just fall out of, basically your entire world or your entire life, or what has been going on in the background. So definitely will see some huge repercussions from this, because in a way, like, he thought it was just going to be easy, like, oh yeah, I could give up my sister, like, this whole family can burn in flames, but now you're going to make me an enemy of Tommy. That is not necessarily where I wanted this plan to go. Like, I'm trying to get, out of his crosshairs, but now you're like putting me back into the fire. And it's like, well, what did you expect? Like, this was just going to be seamless? Like, you can't, like, just take life and then, not expect anything to kind of have a ripple effect from that. And I also think, even Diamond brought up that point, like, when he had to create the plan for DMAC to even get, like, relocated to another area, that, like, if you would have taken killing Chewie a little bit more seriously, or you would have thought about that a little bit more, like, a lot of these things, like you having to relocate your nephew, or, people retaliating on you, people trying to, once again, like, take you out, it's like, we wouldn't be in these things, if there was just a little bit more thought into going it. Because it's like, once you kill somebody, like, there's going to be some sort of effect. And so, just in a way, like, are they prepared for what is truly going to come from that? So, what I know from last time, we definitely fangirled about Claudia. What did you think about her in this episode?
I love to. She handled her business she needed to handle, but she's funny. I think that, like, when you talk about being a little impulsive, I think that with, I understand the world that they're in, but they go straight to killing. Like, it didn't take her long to be like, all right, well, Vic gotta go. Like, it was not first, Vic is your partner, y'all about to kill your dad, which is already crazy. And then you like, oh, let me just change the time, and then my brother might be taken out too. And then she killed her little lover real quick. As soon as he started talking, it was like, oh, he's betrayed us. She tried to play it all. But I don't know, because Vic, I'll be honest, he's not the brightest. I didn't know if he put two and two together that she was trying to kill him, but he did. And then he ran to the police, which is blows me, because it's like, I feel like he always is running to somebody else to handle his problems. Like, usually it's Claudia doing all the heavy lifting, and now he's gonna run to the police. And he thought, like, oh well, I'm giving you my sister, we're done, wrapped up. I want a new life. Like, it's just instant. Like,
Mhm,
no, now you got to get into Tommy with CBI. Like, that's a whole nother situation. So,
mhm. Yeah, like, in a way, like, this is how far his revenge, like, got him. Like, he thought he would, almost feel relief, or, that things were over once his father was
mm-hmm.
gone, or once he could, just kind of be done or clear of his family. And it's like, nope. Once again, that truly is not going to be the case. And now we'll see, once again, yeah, him being at odds with Tommy and Diamond just is not, and with no support now too, because his father, even though they had their ways about him, his father always supported him. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
always knew somehow, some way, Walter was going to come and coddle Victor at the end of the day, and leave his sister out for the wolves in a way. So
Mm.
now that, I don't know. Well, Claudia isn't necessarily aware yet that he is privy to her secret plan, but Claudia
I
knows not dumb.
mean, she should. I mean, the guy literally snitched on her.
Definitely, like, suspicious now, so I know she'll keep her guard up. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like,
Mm-hmm.
she, like, this plan. like was always in motion for her to like still have the support at the end of the day, but like now Victor, like you're kind of like out by yourself. um but she did kill the who was also involved with the plan, who was like messing up the time. So that once again, like there's
Mhm.
definitely going to be repercussions there. So in a way, they need to team up because they are one another's like support, or they are kind of in the same bucket or in the same playing field. So we'll
Mhm.
see though
Yeah.
if they do find their way back together, or if he really is able to take her out, but or take her down. But I don't know. Claudia, once again, she's not going to go down easy. She's going to go out swinging. So I'm
Mhm.
still rooting for her because once again, someone is trying to tell her this is not your place. You are
Mhm.
a woman. Like you to stick with the current structure, the status quo, and you need to be okay with that. And she, and once again,
Mhm.
showing us like throughout this show, like how one, like, you know, how many hurdles she has to go through just to even get like any ounce of respect, or just to be noticed and seen like in this environment. But then two, it's like, dang, like I have to take these drastic measures even when I don't,
Mhm.
just because I'm always like my back is up against the wall over something that is, you know, outside of my control. Like you favor, you know, like you haven't even really given a valid reason as to why you favor, you know, Victor so much over me. Like if you really are prioritizing the business, you know who, you know, to put in place. But if you rather kind of stick to, you know, principle, or stick to what you think is, you know, the way to go, then clearly, you know, you're going to keep missing it. And, you know, once again, they continue to underestimate her, and
Mhm.
just kind of just feel as though she's going to just take it. And we see time and time again that she's not going to take it. So, you know, with now all of this going on, you know, I do wonder where she is going to go, and, you know, how far, and we're gonna see like Claudia do her plan. So we shall see. I
Mhm.
intrigued for what is to come. So now to transition to some of our themes, to dive into those. A huge theme that stuck out to me during this episode was definitely the concept of sibling rivalry. We see that for sure in Claudia and Victor, and in Diamond and Jenard. So let's start there. How do you think sibling rivalry affected this show, and in particular this
Woo.
show?
It is. It is. It's sibling rivalry. It's like family rivalry. But definitely when you think of Jenard and Diamond, and then as well as with Vic, and Claudia and Diamond, they give similar energies to me. I wish they were partnered up. I wish they were siblings. I mean, you can't do that, but basically, they both have some brothers who don't be pulling their weight, and they're impulsive. They're the ones who's angry. Like they're the ones not thinking. But now Claudia's falling into their trap. Now she's not thinking clearly, but like usually she tries to be more strategic. But both of them have been doing heavy work for their brothers, and then as soon as it doesn't go their brother's way, they turn. You know, like Jenard left. I mean, Vic Lily's taking her to the police, like immediate. He said death was too easy. She got to be in prison for life. Like what? Like
She has to suffer. And yeah, because it's like all the things that your father, you know, has done to you, and he gets like the easy way. Yeah, in a way, like why does your sister have to suffer, but your father didn't? Like it was just easy for you to, you know, take him out, quote unquote, by just killing him. So that does raise like a concern, or like a red flag. Like, what's the difference, almost in a way, between
mm-hmm.
your father and her? And like why, again, like why is she getting like the brunt in a way of like all of your anger? Like, and I think it's too because speaking to like that impulsivity piece, like he wasn't really planning on killing his own dad, and so it's almost like he had to like adapt or like makeshift the whole plan just to fit that in. And so now I guess that he has like a little time to be a little bit more diabolical. Like now, like he's just gonna direct his anger towards someone, and now it's on his sister. And I do agree. Like I don't think it's warranted that
Hmm.
he's putting now all of this, because in a way, had they let Claudia have a little bit more power or a little bit more reign, like we definitely could have saw this go a lot different. So, because I don't want
Yeah.
to paint the picture like that Claudia is like money hungry or power hungry. It's once again, like no one is really considering all of what I have to do just to even be a part. Whereas, like you said, like people don't have to pull their weight and they're just handed things. They're like, people are
Hmm.
begging. Like her father is like, I'm grasping at straws. I know I will admit with my mouth today, I know your sister's actually the better candidate for this position, but I still am going to highlight you or put you in this place because of all of the background things. And so,
Because of your anatomy. Literally, it's literally because what you were born at birth,
mhm,
like your birth sex. That's literally what it is. It's like, come on, seriously. But that's the thing, that she literally had to kill her father or set up to kill her father for his respect. That's kind of
mhm,
wild. Like,
right,
but also to your point, you brought up a good point about like not respecting women, and it's like women have to go with whatever system the men set. I definitely felt that same way about Kate, in a sense of the brothers. Tommy and his brother decided like, oh, we're not gonna let her know. She can't know because she's gonna mess things up. Again, speaking for women,
mhm,
and it's ultimately underestimating women and causing a worse result because it's like we just know better. She's gonna mess it up because she's what, a child, because she's unable to think, because
mhm,
she can't keep her mouth shut. Like no, like again, it's patriarchy,
mhm,
misogyny. But anyways,
mhm.
I'm off my soapbox.
No, I mean, because we see that so clearly, like playing out in Claudia, and which is always like drove that tension like with her brother, because ultimately I don't think she meant her brother any harm, and was constantly also trying to look out for him
Hmm.
as well. Like, okay, let's team up because I know that you're upset with our dad for killing Glory. Like I'm trying to look out for you, and I'm trying to, like, in a way, have to think for you, but at the same time, like, I'm not seen as your equal, or I'm not seen as someone who is as capable or as strategic as you. And so I always have to like pull the drastic cards, or I always have to go to such
Hmm.
extreme measures. Which I also do see in Diamond versus Jenard's situation as well. Like, even though they're two men, so they don't necessarily have to deal with like the
Hmm.
struggles and the barriers and things that Claudia is like as a woman in this show. But at the same time, like Diamond is still, having to step in for his brother, having to think for his brother, like we saw, like even with like his father, Diamond and Jenard's father, like, please take care of your brother. Like, if nothing else, if you hear nothing else, like, please
Hmm.
take care of your brother. Why? Because your brother, I know, is not he's not as he needs me, like, and he always needed me in a way, like growing up, or at least he presented as though he needed me. Since you don't, like, I know you have the capabilities, like I know you are responsible enough to do this, even though it's like you're putting what should have been on you on me. And
Hmm.
that exactly
Yeah.
fair, you know to really do,
Mm.
because Jenard, just like Victor, is very capable of doing things on their own, but at the same time, like, they're not expected. Like, Walter didn't expect really for Victor to step up in a way that Claudia has, or to even have to do half as much that Claudia did. And then same with Jenard. It's like, okay, well, Jenard, he did like handle everything like while Diamond was in prison, but like once Diamond got back out, it's like, now, like, now where's your place? Like, now, like, what,
Mhm.
like, how can you contribute? And now, just because you see things like shifting, like, that's not necessarily a threat to you.
Mm. Yep. Yep.
But just once again, like not being able to see things outside of like how they've been or how you've gotten used to, I think also drives like both of their tensions as well. Like specifically in the Flynn family, like having a man lead, or specifically in Jenard and Diamond's situation, keeping it like very much in the family, and no other outsiders or no other person should be able to kind of infiltrate like what dynamic and things that we have. So how what do you where do you
Mhm.
see like Jenard and Victor's like trajectory for the remaining of the show?
I don't honestly have a lot of faith in them because I feel like they just don't have the grit. Because in a way, not to say that that was their fault, it was kind of robbed for them because someone's always thinking for you, someone's always coddling you, someone's already always doing that, and so it's like, you know how they like let the little bird fly. They didn't really get that chance, and so most of the times they end up like floundering, like, you know what I'm saying? Or they're looking for someone else to solve it, whether that's going to drugs, like that's giving me that escape, or I'm going to the cops. Y'all gonna solve it for me. My sister can't try to kill me. She was gonna solve it for me. Now she tried to kill me. So it's like I don't think they have the survival skills, and it's not necessarily their fault. But I do want to say though, like I definitely my heart goes out to Claudia and Diamond, but especially Diamond because it's really like his dad was literally like, oh, you didn't need me, so I wasn't around in your life. Like, what? First of all, just because if I was doing worse, then I deserve to have a father. Like, he's just doing his best he can, and I feel like again, it's always like, but you have to do it for Jenard, have to do it for Jenard, and it's almost like he plays like a maternal slash paternal figure to Jenard because he's very forgiving, which I know people typically associate with like femininity, but he's also to playing the role of the father kind of. So it's like he's doing a lot, and it's like again he's secondary, and then he's trying to blame him for making Jenard go on the streets. It's like, Nick, you
Mhm.
the one talking about the streets called my name. That's why I got to be in the streets. And they gonna be so.
Yeah.
No wonder both of your sons follow your footsteps. But there's no sense of accountability, and they want to throw it off on somebody. And I think Diamond and Claudia in both of their situations, they're easy people just like to throw their own responsibility off on. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you make up really great points there, because we definitely do see Diamond taking on that paternal role specifically for Jenard heavily in this episode. Because even like when they first did their fraction, um, or like when they first split up, like they were making their threats, like, if you see him, just take him out, like no questions asked. But they've saw each other on plenty of occasions and still did not consider it. So it's just like, once again, like a lot of Diamond still probably in the background, like even though like they had their issues or they had their tensions, like probably was still in the background thinking of how can I still work this out for both my brother and I. Like I don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable
hmm
in a way just creating a plan that solely just fits me. Whereas Jenard was like Jenard, when he created treason, like he was not worried about how this could affect how it could affect Diamond. In a way, he created that literally to cause chaos and trouble for Diamond. Like, so definitely see that aspect as well, where it's like a lot of assumed responsibility that, or just a lot of misplaced responsibility that was always put on Claudia or Diamond. Like
hmm And
how
it introduces jealousy, like you mentioned.
Yes, and how jealousy like kind of separated them like between one another, but at the same time like still feeling, it's almost like if you know better, you do better. And so since like Diamond and Claudia kind of know better, like they have to always kind of think ahead and think more and think almost like all inclusively, like versus Victor and Jenard can just be kind of led by their own like selfish ambitions. Like for Victor, I'm
hmm
only thinking about getting revenge on Dad because he killed Gloria. Like I'm not thinking about
Yeah.
like how he continues to disrespect my sister or continues
hmm
to overshadow her or you know, Claudia, in a way, you can handle yourself. We trust you. We know you have the capabilities. So we definitely saw that again, like with Diamond in this episode. Like, well, you got you're expanding your business. Now it's in the prisons. Like now you have a connection with Miguel. Like you have all these things already in place. And so I know you'll be good. I know I can now just kind of go off and frolic off, like, and do my own thing because you guys are good and like you guys are
Mm-hmm.
going to make it, or you guys are always going to think for either for me or for the entirety of the group. And it's like, like much is given, much is required. Even your selfish ambitions, or like even like your motives, still like they still affect someone else. And the fact that that never had to be considered,
Mm-hmm.
or what that was never like really talked about, it's like, dang, like once again, if you would have just thought about it a little bit, or if you would have just took a second to really understand like how this plays a bigger part into the long-term plan, like we wouldn't be always like stopped by these short-sighted kind of missions and like adaptations to things that are already in place. And that's why it's like, dang, for Claudia in this episode, like we do see like her be led by her selfish ambitions this time. Like, okay, for once, I am not going to think about like what's good now for the Flynn family. Like she said, like, okay, well, now I can be the leader. Like once my father's gone, and I can take control. And like once he kind of like try to put her in her place to say, actually, that's not what your reality is going to be. It's like, well, now I will be selfish. Now I will take, my time back. Like now I will take that like reign. Um, but once again, like now she didn't know that Victor was going to find out. Like she didn't know that these things were going to kind of fall apart. But once again, it's because I think she was led now, specifically in this episode, by her like pure just selfish intention of I just want the control. So that was like an interesting aspect that I noticed, like, like now that she is acting, a bit more selfishly, or a bit more like not in the general interest of Dublin or in the general interest of her family, like now, where's that going to lead? And it's sad because it's like Victor is now teaming up with the police to like take her down. It's like, almost in a way, like the time that she is going to be selfish, it's all going to come crashing down, versus like how many times has Victor kind of been led by his own selfish ambitions, and someone once again just comes back and picks him up, or, comes back and holds his hand, or fixes his situations for him. Similar to
Mm-hmm.
Jenard as well, like, how in this episode we saw like the extremity of his drug use, and how he was spiraling, and how that was, getting around to different people, like, hey, we actually don't want to do business with you because we know you're going to use the product. How are we going to sell it if you're going to use it, kind of thing. And so I'm sure I'm sure that did get back to Diamond, or, like he's also hearing a lot of the things that others are hearing as well. And so it's him taking that paternal role back once more, and kind of getting Jenard out of a situation that he put himself in, for sure. Woo. This has been a lot for this episode. So, to even transition to looking a little bit deeper into the characters, how would you describe some of the characters in the context of jealousy?
Yeah, I think that everything you said makes sense. I can definitely see, to be honest with you, from the older sibling situation, it gives more resentment. Like I can see that happening in the sense that you have a lot more freedoms than I do. You're thought of a lot more than I am. But I think it's also jealousy from the younger siblings in the sense of, or other people in the sense of like you come off too good. You come off as if you have your shit together, you're responsible, and you can do this. And so it kind of robs them of their personhood. Like, I'm a person too. I need support too. I need to be thought to. I have feelings too. Like, that's erased because, oh, you're so good, so I'm just gonna focus on me. Like it's a lot, and I think that we'll see how that plays out. But I think at some point he's very sturdy, but I feel like at some point this is really gonna get to Diamond because it's continuous. Like when he came back and said, "Dad wanted you to know that you were the person he loved most." Like he was trying to like calm. It's like in spite of his own hurt, all the words he's saying, he's doing this for Jenard, and it's like he was adding stuff that his dad didn't even say. He was just trying to make Jenard feel better, and it's just like, dang, like each time you got to rob yourself of your own feelings, you're grieving your own dad too, you're grieving the relationship you had and the relationship you didn't have. So, but that's put on the back burner, and I feel like eventually it's going to catch up to them, and so. I think it's a lot of that jealousy, resentment on both sides, and I feel bad because it's like why is it that people who are doing well have to be broken or hurt in order to be seen? And I feel that way about his own father being like, "Oh yeah, you didn't need me, so that's why I wasn't in your life." It's like, what? Like, like why? I feel like that's gonna have to. I feel like it's pushing for that to happen. Like, you need to see a break in Diamond in order to humanize him. So, that's my thoughts there.
Wow, yes, you definitely bring a good point there. Like, why does it take so much just for Diamond to be in a way like appreciated or even seen? Because you can also even see that, like, even outside of just the context of his relationship with Jenard and his father, you can also even see that with Tommy too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I in a way almost like constantly have to repeat myself? Like, why do I always have to like go over time and time and time again? Like, maybe this isn't the best way to do this, or this isn't, like maybe we should think about it a different way. Like you said, like it's going towards like that, or going towards a trajectory where it's like, it always has to come to like the point of no return. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
have to like boil over and, you know, just get complete revenge or just retaliate in any sort of way for there to be some sort of notice, or for there to be some sort of, in a way, just taken seriously. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think specifically in Diamond and Claudia's position, like they just want to be taken seriously. Like, Diamond wants to be taken seriously in terms of like his strategy, like where he wants to see things going, because he is the one who even created the idea or wanted to push forward with the idea of the coalition. And once again, he had to deal with Tommy, like giving him a little bit of pushback. And then he had to go and see his dad and hear all the things that his dad had to say. And still, once his brother came in, like you said, to finally get the news, has to, almost like just have so much restraint, even though he is warranted in a way to lash out, or he is warranted in a way to like do some of these things, but just doesn't have necessarily the room or the capacity to really kind of like act out on it. And it almost has to like get to that point of, once again, like no return, or I'm just gonna, act so impulsively that you have no choice now but to recognize what I am, who I am, what I contribute, and that what I said before mattered. And it should have mattered then, but now I'm going to make sure, it matters. So I definitely see, resentment being tied into jealousy, and how, just feeling like just tired, like overall, like Claudia specifically in this episode, just because you can see like what I found interesting, like when she was doing the plan to kill her dad, like looking in the mirror, or looking at her reflection, and then the same thing happened like when she was planning on also then killing her brother. Like, look, like this is like in a way like who I had to become, just because of all the things that are always kind of just put on me that I didn't ask for. It was very unwarranted for her father to treat her that way, and then on top of that to continue getting that disrespect kind of just compounded. Like, in a way, it's almost just it kind of even goes, I think, just extend beyond jealousy and just literally feeling that resentment or just feeling just tired and exhausted from almost just going around the same loop de loop of like a series of actions. Like I say something, it's not heard, and then something happens, I have to go back and then like fix it, and then we're back, wash, rinse, repeat. Like where's this going, where's the callus going to come, like, or where what is going to be, the factor that sets things in place. And so I definitely see that this was Claudia's moment, particularly like her planning to kill her brother. But now I will, will be interesting to see like what could be in a way like Diamond's boiling point, like what will, like set him over to where nothing, that's already in place ever doesn't matter. Kind of
Hmm.
scared to see him get to that place because like I enjoy seeing Diamond keep his composure, try to keep things like straightforward or try to keep things going. But what we're definitely getting bits and pieces of, you know, things boiling or things now really coming to the surface and like where that can truly like lead him going forward. What do you think in terms of Tommy in this episode? And like in a way like his mom's reaction to the grandson, like do you see like even Tommy expressing some sort of jealousy or even some sort of resentment
Hmm.
for his mom? I definitely picked that up even when the brother was talking too, like you didn't raise us, like we had to raise ourselves. So all
Hmm.
this concern and all this care that you have for my child, that's so interesting. Like where was it like for me, or like where was it when I needed it? So what are your thoughts there, even with Tommy?
Yeah, I could definitely see that bowling. I thought it was interesting though because Tommy and his brother were both like, because we were when we were watching it, we were like, well, you didn't raise them either, and then that's exactly what he said. Like you didn't raise us, and which so I can see that definitely bubbling up. And he's all I think part of the reason why Tommy really didn't want to tell Kate was like some sort of resentment, like she's gonna mess it up. She's gonna just mess things up. That's my experience with her, and she's gonna do this here versus like not recognizing that she has a completely different relationship with her grandson and how much you just saying he's gone. Just say a little bit more. Just give people a little bit because their own anxieties, might take over. And exactly what happened with her. Like she started to self sabotage, but in this situation, she started doing drugs. But next time, we don't know. She might go to police too. That black lady might have two people coming to her saying like, "Oh, I want these people gone in jail." All that stuff. It's
Mhm.
like, bruh, again, like underestimating women. Just tell her like you're causing more issues. They don't. It's either they just think only. They don't think so far. Like, like think of the next step, please.
Mhm.
Okay, what could happen? Now she's all worried her grandson's dead.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, the dad was in on it. So why would he kill his son? So I feel like if she
Yeah.
took a step back and probably didn't have heightened emotion, she recognized like most likely he's just out of town. He's not dead. So
In a way, she's just scared of her son because she's like, I know what my son is capable of. Okay. I don't put anything past him. If he said he did it, he did it. Or he said
I
he's going
know.
to
She
do
said, "Look me in my eye." She was like,
it.
"Look,
Mhm.
I know what you up to. You could be do what you could do." So yeah, I agree.
And then just means I think, they got a little satisfaction from seeing that hurt, like because in a way they were almost like taking it for themselves, like wow, like you did have the capacity, to show us
Mhm.
some concern. You are showing us now like you did have, in a way like what we needed. And so I'm almost like enjoying seeing you kind of squirm now that like we're not the victim in this situation, like now the hurt isn't going to be on us. Now we can kind of put it back on the person that kind of inflicted this. And
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said, I don't think that they didn't notice in a way like how much that kind of compounded on her to like lead her back, into drugs or, kind of set her back in a place like that she was actively and truly trying to get herself out of. So I think, like, to your point, like, they didn't want to fully tell her. One, yes, I do, because they definitely are underestimating her capacity to take in that information, but also too, like, wanted to use that point. I definitely think the uh Tommy's brother, D-Mac's dad, like, definitely wanted to use that as his, like, well, you know what, I'm kind of glad you heard. Like, it is interesting to see this reaction, because we didn't get it, and we would have liked it this, or we would have expected this,
Yeah.
or we would have enjoyed this,
Mhm.
but no, you didn't have that for us, so don't have it now for him. Like, keep it going. Keep, stand
Mhm.
on what you've been on. Stand on what
Yeah.
know you to be. And once again, it just, like, brings up, like, can someone change? And I think we'll see that also in Kate, but just even in Diamond, even in Claudia, like, we'll see now, like, how their jealousy or their resentment or they're just tired and exhaustion, like, where it is going to lead them. Because once again, them not telling Kate the full extent of the plan, it's like just opening up another can of, or just putting another enemy, like, out there, because Kate is a bit unhinged, so we don't know truly what what she would be capable of, or now that her beloved grandchild is gone. It's interesting that she does pick and choose truly, like, who she does show a lot of favoritism, because in the same way she had a similar reaction to when Ghost died in the original Power series. Like, I loved him. I cared so much about him. He was such a, this, that, and the third. And Tommy's like, I'm your son. Like, and you just never have, the things I'm just, like, begging, for, like, from you. And so how that jealousy, like, or just that resentment for, you know, seeing it, like, even if they can manage without necessarily having it now, just seeing it, and seeing it on full display for someone that you know you don't even know as well as that, as us, to, like, receive. And so I definitely think they enjoyed that a bit. Um but long and behold, it's not going to last. Like, they might have felt a little bit of relief, or a little bit of power or control back in that situation, but it's not going to last. And I don't think that they thought what could happen now that she's not doing okay with the news of how all of this kind of came about. So, woo, we went through a lot, and there is a lot going on. What do you think is going to happen in the next episode, or later on in the season?
So much, but things that quickly come up is more so like, yeah, we definitely Kate gonna come back, do something chaotic. I
Mm.
think Diamond's gonna get tired of Jenard. He gonna be using his product. And he's
Oh, yes, because I don't think he knows possibly to the extent of how much he's using. So that is a good point. Like, we don't know still, what headspace Jenard is really in, and so he's also unhinged right now, and just, we don't know where to place his actions. We don't know where it's really going to lead or where it's going to go. So
hmm
that definitely makes sense. So yeah, those are two, like, outliers, like, where their behavior isn't so predictable. And so
hmm
that, and when it's something's not predictable, especially in this context or this show, that typically leads to danger, or that typically leads to something going astray. I am interested and seeing if Tommy is going to find out when Victor tries to infiltrate CBI, if he's going to pick up on his plan, and what exactly is going to come of that. Like, like, would he let Claudia know? Because it's like their beef is done now that, Dahlia has been, you know, took that out of competition. So it's like, will we see Tommy like let Claudia know? In a way, like I wonder whose like side he'll be on, like at the end of it. Like, and what will truly come. Because I know Tommy picks up on things like that very quickly. So I wonder what his like plan will be overall. And of course, I think, the police, they always like, they always are in the background trying to, handle this investigation. But I'm just interested to see, in a way, how they weasel their way out of it. Like, what is going to be their master plan, to get them off their back. So yes, we have lots to look forward to, but that is going to be a wrap for today's episode of the Hot Nerd Network's Power Book 4 Force Recap. Thank you, Jazz, for coming back and visiting us again to share your insights for this episode. Wes, I remember we talked about Claudia the first one, so we're still going to, we're gonna see where our girl ends up. I'm still rooting for her. I really am because she had to take on too much for her to not
I
get
know.
out of this. So yes,
Yes.
thank you for coming back. For sure, if you want to come back for later on, you are always welcome here on this recap. But yes, everyone, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's episode for the recap for episode 6. See you then.
Thanks, Hot Nerd D.